These are some of the recipes I think would be perfect for a vegan packed lunch. Welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm sharing with you some recipes that are going to be perfect for heading out of the house and taking your lunch with you. Obviously lots of you need lunches for work, for school, for college, wherever you're going, and hopefully these are going to fit really easily into your lifestyle. Nothing too complicated. You can meal prep them and make them ahead of time, or make them on the morning and just pack them up ready to go. They don't require a microwave or anything, and they can all be enjoyed cold, which is ideal for just simplicity. But the first recipe is some spicy sweet corn courgette fritters. These are so delicious, and the perfect thing is that you can batch make them. If you make a larger amount, you can freeze them, and they're perfect just to throw in a lunchbox with some salad, have them in a wrap, have them in a sandwich. You can just eat them in so many different ways. Have them with some quinoa, some other grains, and just mix it up. But they're just perfect as a nice little kind of lunch that's gonna keep you going, and also perfect for summer. Oh, totally delicious. It's been a while since I've had them. As always, the recipes will be linked in the description box down below. And if they're not on my website yet, then I'll write them up in the description for you so you can follow along. And if you recreate any of these recipes, definitely tag me on Instagram or TikTok. I love to see it, and let's get cooking. We've got our courgette. You need about 250 grams. This is like 280, but without the top part, it'll be about 250. So grate this first. And drain your tin of sweet corn and use 100 grams. You can see how easy this will be to double, so you could just use 2 courgettes and probably more like the whole tin of sweet corn. And then we're gonna put this in a tea towel and then squeeze all of the moisture out of it. Because courgette has a really high water content, so will sweet corn. It will just make these way more bindable and compact. That's the issue sometimes with veggie burger fritter things, is that because plants are way higher in water, they can fall apart easily. So this is a step you don't want to skip, and you'll see in a second. Use a tea towel you don't care about either, because they can kind of leave a green stain. I have lots of tea towels in the kitchen that I use for this kind of thing, so I don't have to worry. You'll see all of that green juice. And if you're a keen juicer, you can drink that, but I'm not going to. And now we've got our sweet corn and courgette. We can add the remaining ingredients, which is some gram flour. This is chickpea flour. Highly recommend you get this in your cupboard if you're looking to cook more with plants. It's really high in protein, and it's just a great swap for something like eggs, which I know sounds strange, but trust me on this, it works. It binds stuff, and it makes for a really delicious vegan omelette recipe, and make it vegan. So that's 6 tablespoons of gram flour, a handful of fresh chopped mint. You could also use parsley, coriander, or whatever herb is in season or you love or you have in your garden. This was from my back door, which is lovely. A teaspoon of chili flakes, and if you don't love chili, then do half a teaspoon. It does add a nice kick. And of course, I'm gonna add the zest and juice of a lemon because I just love the flavor. And then give it a good old season with salt and pepper. And then mix it all together. And of course you could use a spoon, but I just find it so much easier to use my hands. Gosh, that smells so good. And then just set this aside for maybe 10 minutes or so, just to allow all those ingredients to come together. And you can even put it in the fridge. And now we can divide this into 8 balls. So let's take this out. It's a lot more solid. Now it's been about 10 minutes in the fridge. I'm just gonna divide it in half, half again, half again. And now we've got 8 balls, we can fry them up. So in a large frying pan, heat up some vegetable oil. I also get questions a lot about air fryers. I don't have one, but I'm pretty certain that you could just do these in an air fryer too. And of course you could bake them in the oven and get this really nice and hot. So So pop them in. You don't have to do this with your hands. I like to take risks. As I do a lot of cooking, I have the kind of hands that can cope with heats, so I'm not worried, but just be safe. Just fry these up about 5 minutes on each side, and then you can pop them in your packed lunch for the next day. And like I said, if you make a double batch, just fry them and then freeze them, and you can defrost them ready to eat. But they're delicious cold. Now we've got our 8 little fritters. You can leave them to cool and then pop them in the fridge for storage. And I'm gonna show you a lovely dip to have with it. Very simple. So I'm gonna mix some coconut yogurt with some sweet chili. This is the coconut collab one, because often when you have fritters like this, they're really good with a sweet chili sauce, especially because it kind of feels like a similar vibe to, if you're not vegan, fish. When you have fish with sweet chili, and that's kind of the vibe it gives me. So a few dollops of coconut yogurt, there's no need to measure, and some sweet chili sauce. If you're not into the spice, again, just have it with yogurt and some lemon. But that is a really lovely, quick dip to have alongside your fritters. So I'd pack this in my lunch with some lettuce. You could throw in a bit of rocket in there too. Add in your fritters. Maybe a few tomatoes. And then I'd really recommend these little dinky containers that you can use for dips. And that way you can make your own dips at home and take these with you so it doesn't make your packed lunch soggy, like so. So this can be enjoyed alongside your courgette fritters and with whatever snacks you have for that day. Another way of serving this would be to wrap those fritters up in a wrap and then also take the dip with you that you can dip your wrap in. Of course, can't leave out the taste test, which feels weird having it out of a little Tupperware container at home, but I've put a little dollop of the coconut yogurt. It's so full of flavour. I love these. These just taste like summer. What a perfect thing to take with you for lunch. And of course, if you have a microwave in your office or your place of work, then you can pop those little fritters on a plate and microwave them, then add them back to your salad if you like, but they will taste so yummy cold. And you can store these in the fridge for probably about 2 to 3 days, but they'll freeze perfectly. Now we're making my Mediterranean vegetable turnovers from my cookbook, Make It Vegan. These are fab if you are somebody who travels for work or you're on the go a lot in the car and you just need something that you can eat with one hand. You don't need a knife and fork, don't need a microwave. You can just throw it in your bag and take it with you as you travel. And as you go throughout the day, they are super easy to adapt as well and change for your favorite ingredients, seasonal veg, and they're perfect for freezing. You can freeze them pre-baking them, or you can bake them and put them in the freezer so they're completely ready to go just to defrost, and then you can enjoy them. And they're just so versatile, so I'm excited for these. I love a good puff pastry. I'm gonna start by making my pesto. You can buy pesto, of course, there's lots of vegan pestos in the shop, but I've got some wild garlic that I need to finish, and I do have a vegan pesto recipe in my cookbook. I just substitute Parmesan for nutritional yeast. It makes it very easy, and it's a good thing to have in your fridge. You can use it for so many different recipes, so it's perfect to whip up and save for another thing later. You could have it for dinner when you get home with some pasta when you're feeling tired. And this is the puff pastry I'm using. It's Just Roll puff pastry sheet, ready rolled. It's accidentally vegan, and I'm pretty sure that most of their pastries are. Just check the ingredients, but I always have one of these in the freezer and grab it when I need to make a recipe like this. So for our pesto in a food processor, I'm gonna add a bunch of basil, because it is wild garlic season, and I got this the other day and it's kind of wilting. I'm gonna throw this in here as well. I'm gonna have to go pick some more up later before it all disappears. Olive oil. I don't tend to measure it. I tend to go with a large glug. Woo! Oh, You won't see this, but I just dropped pine nuts all over the floor. And if you know how expensive they are, that's like dropping pound coins all over the floor. A clove of garlic, a generous pinch of salt, and some nutritional yeast, around 10 grams, and a nice big squeeze of lemon juice. I'm gonna do a whole lemon, but do the amount of lemon you like. I was looking at this pesto thinking, why does it look weird? I forgot to add the pine nuts with all that drama of them going on the floor. So 5 tablespoons of these guys, and if you're on a budget, use cashews or walnuts. Not that they're cheap, but they're still cheaper than pine nuts. I'm adding some spinach into my turnovers. So we'll start by wilting the spinach just for a minute or two in boiling water. And this is 200 grams and it will disappear, as you know. Spinach just shrinks to nothing. So just push that down and literally just blanch this. And then just pat this dry because it will hold a lot of moisture, which we don't really want. And again, don't use tea towels that you're precious about because it will make them very green. I always have tea towels in my kitchen that are ones I don't care about getting stained. Like this one is clean, but it has stains. So we're gonna fry up a red onion and a red pepper for about 5 minutes in a pan until soft. Now we can add in the spinach, a little dash of Tabasco, 130 grams of sweet corn, 2 teaspoons of paprika, of course some lemon zest, couldn't be without it. Then give it a quick season with some salt and pepper. Roll out your puff pastry and cut this into 4, and make sure this is straight out the fridge because it'll be so much easier to work with. Don't take it out the fridge at the start while you're like preparing. Take it out just before you use it so it's nice and solid like that, and it's so much easier and less sticky to work with. So we'll start by adding a pesto on the base and then just spreading that around. Don't go to the edges, just leave like a gap, a border. This is also where you can experiment. Maybe you could use hummus, or you could use harissa, or you could use a sun-dried tomato paste. Like this has the option to be changed up. On top of your pesto, add some sliced potato, just to 1/2, because you're going to be folding these. Just make sure to slice your potato really, really thin so that it can cook. You can top your potato with the delicious filling. And if you find you have extra filling, because you may do, then you can load up a whole other puff pastry or save it for later. Optional addition is some vegan cheese. I'm just going to do 2 of these with vegan cheese. We have the option. And then you want to brush the edges just gently with a bit of milk. Don't do too much, just to help it stick. I've gone a little bit too close to the edge. See, look, I've been a bit messy, but that's okay. Just something to help everything stick when you fold it over. And it also can help to have slightly damp hands. So fold it over, and then you can press down on the sides like so. We've got our 4 little pockets of yum, and now I'm going to just crimp the seals with a fork. And then you can cut 3 diagonal slits in the middle. Brush the tops with some milk just to get that golden glow. That we can transfer these over onto our baking tray. Look how cute they are. Bake these in the oven for 25 to 30 minutes until the pastry is golden brown and puffed up. Look how cute. Perfect little puff pastries. I picked up this lovely package of paper snack and sandwich bags, and I probably store them in here. They can be your own little pastry to go. Pop one in there, fold it over, and it's an ideal snack or little lunch. You'll feel like you've been to your own little pastry shop. Imagining I'm in my car on the way to my next job. Let's have a little bite, shall we? I think that this is the vegan cheese one. I hope it is. Pesto. So yummy. And you know what I would do if I was someone who was in the car a lot? I'd pop these in the oven in the morning, wrap them up in my bag, and then if you have them as a sort of early lunch or a mid-morning snack, they'll be warm still. The options are endless as well. Sometimes you just fancy a lovely wholesome salad for lunch, especially at this time of year as it gets warmer, or if you're not someone who loves a big lunch. So this roasted chickpea and spring green salad is perfect. So yummy. I've just changed the kale that was originally for this recipe out with some spring greens to make it seasonal. But if you're watching this video in autumn winter, then by all means switch out the spring greens for some curly kale or some cavolo nero, and it will work deliciously. It's very easy because you're roasting the chickpeas and also the greens. Really, really healthy, got protein in there, and you can enjoy this as a salad on its own, or you could put it in a pita pocket, or you could have it with some bread as a side, or even throw in some brown rice or quinoa just to bulk it out and make it more filling. We'll start with our chickpeas, and I'm going to drain these and add them to a baking tray. For seasoning, I'm using Ras Al Hanout, which is a delicious flavour. A tablespoon approximately of olive oil, and a generous helping of sea salt. And then just toss this all together to coat. And then we'll roast these in the oven at 180 degrees Celsius for 25 to 30 minutes, making sure to give them a quick shake and turn in the middle. So here's our lovely spring greens. Chop these up and just remove these middle pieces. I do the same with kale. I just chop them out. So with kale, you usually can just pull it out. This is a bit tougher. Don't you just love the way that looks? So beautiful. So I'm just going to grab all of this together and roughly chop. Toss with oil and some salt and just massage that all in. And this should really help to soften. And like with kale, it helps soften it because it is a harder, more bitter green. Set that aside until the chickpeas have been cooking for 25 minutes, and then we can add it in. While your chickpeas are in the oven, let's make our dressing. I always like doing this in a jar, and it's especially helpful if you are traveling with your dressing, because it's always much better to pour it on fresh so it doesn't make your salad soggy. So we'll start with 3 tablespoons of tahini, and then 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, 2 to 3 tablespoons of hot water. Start with 2 and then you can add more. Pinch of chili flakes, this is optional. And then the juice and zest of a lemon. And finally, a tablespoon of sesame seeds. And then give it a good season with salt and pepper. And if I didn't judge that perfectly, look. And then the brilliant thing about putting it in a jar is you can shake it to mix your dressing. And then obviously you can use that to store it. And you want to shake this up until it emulsifies. And there you go. That looks pretty delicious. Now it's been 25 minutes. Let's add in our greens along with 6 to 8 garlic cloves. And you can leave these nice and whole because I just think it's the tastiest thing in the world. And then roast this for a further 20 to 25 minutes, tossing in between as well. So now we have our lovely cooked salad. We can add it to our container. And I actually love this cold as much as I love it warm. And it makes for this really delicious, wholesome, Mediterranean style lunch that's nice and light, full of goodness. It's seriously so good for you. And like I said, you could toss brown rice, bulgur wheat, quinoa, sweet potato through this to make it that bit more filling as well. And if you like coriander, you could add a little bit of this fresh on top as well. And you can just pull out your dressing, which if you put it in the fridge when you're at work, just pop a little bit of extra hot water and give it a new shake so that you can get it to be liquidy again. Do a nice drizzle on top. Delicious. Taste test time. So yummy. And I know I feel like a stuck record, but the key here is to change it up, get creative, and I want to encourage you to switch things out. So if this is something that you see as easy to do, because you can just chuck it in the oven and, you know, prepare that on a Sunday ahead of your work week, you can double up the recipe and then store it in the fridge in bulk, portioned out. Then it means that you can vary each week. You can vary it seasonally, so you can change it up for kale, courgette, broccoli, and the beans you could swap for butter beans, cannellini beans, black beans, and just make it a new thing each time. You can add a bit of spice into the tahini dressing, some extra hot sauce, that kind of thing, and just enjoy it for what it is if you really love a cooked roasted salad. Focus on me, please. Ali, I need your help. This is, right. Who gonna marry, kiss or kill me?